I think we should continue the conversation about shorts.
Right, shorts are important. I'm in California. I recognize the hate. It's pretty nice out here, but we have expensive rent, so at least we got that going for us, and traffic.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, where winters are that's when you want to leave.
Yeah.
That's when I come to you, Brett, for beers and brews.
We got to do some better conferences out here. So we are at the Insurance Series Attachment Point News Roundtable. We got Chris Franklin here. Snuck Nick on for a minute, and I kind of feel like this should just be like a digital coffee table right now. No agenda. You guys riff real quick before the conference.
This is perfect.
Oh.
Digital.
Hang on a sec. Hang on. Is that iced tea?
It's part iced tea.
Chris may be somewhere right now too that you might be enjoying a libation. Yeah.
I may be. I may or may not be.
What's going on in the background there?
There's some music going. This is my thinking space, Nick.
You need music.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your day like?
You should spin it around, Chris. You should spin it around.
We should make introductions just so everybody knows who we're talking about.
We're just gonna make this a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. This is perfect.
I'm debating. There's a bottle of wine over there that's been in the office for about 6 months. I'm like, I should go full circle.
That's my Spurs shirt, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
There might be some Arsenal supporters out there, so
okay.
Just in case. Sorry, Nick, your question. So what does my day look like?
Yeah. You hang out there? You hang out there a lot?
No, not too much. So most of my days, Nick, are spent with a company, Resource Pro, who happen to be just down the road from this current spot. So I've been juggling quite a lot of different activities, as you have all probably seen. But my focus at the moment has been around heading up the InsurTech partnerships team at Resource Pro. Which is quite an interesting role.
I think it is interesting maybe to get into it because like my day, for instance, working with Fineo out of Canada about 7 a.m. to noon is a lot of East Coast stuff, a lot of startup stuff. And then noon to 5, I do commission only work with my buddy who's got a big benefits practice. I'm learning the P&C side on that. And then I have this minor sliver, of personal lines still where I kind of have my own shingle. But yeah, it's interesting when you have a few lines in the water, how you chunk out your time, how you try to make those mental shifts,
Yeah, and Brett, just to add, I mean, it's funny because I'm from London originally. I spent 15 years in New York City. I've been in Lincoln for about 5 years, and ironically, this is probably one of the best places, in my opinion, to be. Not only for the proximity to Des Moines, Iowa, and kind of the big InsurTech hub there. But also because of the proximity to California and the East Coast. So it's
Chicago.
And Chicago. So it's kind of worked out really well. A lot of time is spent again, as well mentoring InsurTechs with 3 of the accelerators across the US. So it's kind of it's definitely actually quite a cool spot to be.
Yeah,
that sounds like the article I just saw. Chris Cheatham was talking about how he wasn't expecting it, but how he's just so satisfied with Kansas City, and the Midwest, and I think that gets to a conversation you and I had, Chris, in Des Moines. I think the Midwest is often overlooked, but it's hard not to go there and say, wow, this is a great place to raise a family.
Yeah.
It's not like it doesn't have everything that New York has, but sometimes you don't want all those things,
Yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, it's kind of one of those, where are you in your life right now? Right. And, once, as you start to get to kind of the family stage and whatnot, you think about, okay, where do I want to be? But I think what's really cool about the Midwest is that I think it's now kind of evolving beyond that, right? So it's becoming this really innovative hub. And I think, to Chrissy's point about Kansas City, and in my opinion, it's almost kind of this ideal place to launch a startup. And I think especially in the InsurTech space, perhaps again, kind of Des Moines, talking again about Des Moines, but cost of living, cost of doing business, tremendous talent pools. It's a really, really great place to perhaps get to MVP and beyond. And do it in a way that's cost effective. So I'm a big fan. And I still love New York. But for me, this is a really tremendous place if you're in the market to kind of start your own business. It's a good place to be.
Yes, I see like areas like the Omaha area, Des Moines, Columbus, areas like that where, you mentioned talent. I think that's one of the key elements, not just for InsurTech, but any tech startup, is you probably want to have a significant university base around to pull into that. And you guys have that in spades. It's in top with cost of living. To me, for an employee, I think that's a big sell. Yeah, it's not San Francisco or New York, but you know what? You're going to end up your first 5 years of work with actual money.
Yeah, pay down.
And not spending it all on rent and stuff.
Yeah. And then you guys have a conference coming up, right? That was part of, Chris was hoping to get you on here, Nick. I guess you guys are headed to one pretty shortly, or?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Well, we've got next week is the Connected Insurance event with the Insurance Nexus up in Toronto. Nick, I think are we doing one, the Internet of Business, the Internet of Insurance in Austin?
I cannot go. So we did some promotional stuff, but I know that we did a brief interview with you.
Yes.
On Insurance Nerds regarding that, but I can't attend.
Okay, so that one's coming up, Brett, as well, which is quite cool because we're doing a Dragon's Den type thing there. Where
what's that?
So
it's we have the show in the U.S. I forget. It's the same show down here, right? It's with Mark Cuban and all those guys. Yeah, Shark Tank.
Shark Tank.
It's their version of Shark Tank.
Dragon's Den.
Yeah,
Dragon's Den. So back in the UK, Dragon's Den is kind of the UK equivalent of Shark Tank. So I'm pretty excited to be involved with that one. And then
what
obviously,
kind of character are you going to be? Are you going to attack the customer? Are you going to be nice to him? Are you going to?
It depends who you ask, right? I mean, I think I'm a nice guy, but
fair.
You ask the missus, you might get a different answer. No, I think I'm excited to be part of that, and look, we talk all the time about innovation in the space and kind of companies who are bringing exciting ideas to the insurance industry. And it's one of those misnomers, right, where I think 10 years ago, you wouldn't have really equated insurance with the kind of dynamic space that it is now. But things now are kind of flipped on their head, where everybody's like, okay, this is actually quite a cool space to be.
Oh yeah.
And how do we transform this industry to be one that is finally customer centric?
I had a buddy who just got out of a data visualization company. He sold it in Santa Monica. He's like a entrepreneur in resident at a VC, office, and he's like, hey man, what's going on with this part of insurance? What's going on with this part of insurance? Like, you're in a sweet spot right now. And that was literally this week. He can't wait to crack into where he sees some opportunity. So that's cool.
I think that's what's cool about the stuff you're working on, right? I mean, so when we were in Orange County, I think we were bouncing ideas around. We were talking about parametric insurance. We were talking about automating different parts of that workflow. And when I think about the future of insurance and perhaps especially from a customer perspective, it's how do we facilitate and make insured's lives as easy as possible, and that's throughout the whole insurance value chain. And again, we have a hurricane coming to town, and it's okay, what can we do in the industry to make people's lives a little bit easier who perhaps are in areas that aren't quite as well catered for. So
Nick, the idea that we had fun. So we were hanging out with Bob Frady, and he had to take off. We ended up like keeping the drinking beers in Dana Point, talk about insurance. And it was when all the wildfires were in California. We talked about like a semi rolling out with drones to kind of survey everything. Smart houses calling an Uber over for you, taking you to an Airbnb, like parametric claims assistance, which was funny because at the time it sounded far out there. Now with like drop in, whatever else, it doesn't sound that wild.
No.
A smart home that'll initiate sort of, it's not the claims process. So maybe remediation. I was thinking about having the claim and then also taking care of the person. I was like, oh, wait a minute, they're two separate things. You got to think about
Forget the claim.
Yeah.
Let's prevent the claim. Let's use the technology to create external sprinkler systems.
Exactly, on the roof. It costs nothing.
Yes.
Right.
So there is no claim, but I like the idea of Uber.
Yeah.
I mean, evacuating them or something like that. That's brilliant.
Well, Lyft actually loves getting on those programs. They seem to kind of really attach themselves to altruistic, but the shared economy, I think, pairs up with claims remediation really nicely because you have this knowledge of excess capacity tied in with this knowledge of need. I think there's something there.
Well, and I think that's what's really fascinating about the space we're in. And you look at the innovation around technology, and you look at the way that we're now able to integrate really disparate platforms and lines of business. We're talking about Uber. You could easily throw Airbnb into the mix. You could easily throw Amazon into the mix. So you have the ability through the API economy to say, okay, how do we now start to integrate all of these, perhaps in many ways disconnected verticals, but now they can become connected and they can deliver solutions.
Get a $1,000 gift card. They know your house burnt down. Here's some money to buy clothes on Amazon. It'll be delivered to you next day.
I almost think that from as you're talking about that, Chris, I'm thinking of like, a lot of folks have harped on insurance as like insurance is this, legacy dinosaur and it's been taking a long time. But I almost feel like as you're describing that we needed the other components of technology to sort of establish themselves because insurance has kind of applied everything. And so all of these other verticals, as you said, are sort of needed to be established for insurance to have some sort of foundation to be able to the Airbnb one just sounds so interesting because I'm thinking Hurricane Dorian's hitting. What if there was a technology that could, at a moment's notice, tell like these apartments are open, we can move this family here, and so on and so forth. Like without that other technology, insurance wouldn't be able to build that on their own. They almost need all of the other technology to be built and then the piggyback on top of it.
And then if we come up with really good ideas, we just won't post this. If we come up with things that we think are foundational.
This is $1 billion idea, Chris.
That's what we were saying last year.
So we need to find somebody who's going to fund it, Nick.
Apparently there's money growing on trees. That's what I keep hearing. I don't see it. But.
Are we in the middle of it right now? Like all the VCs are making their plays, and over the next 2 or 3 years, they'll sort of be cashed out in this opportunity. I do think we're coming to the top of the hump of potential change money, and they're going to wait for 7 years to see what happens. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the carriers might still fund stuff.
It's funny because you look at technology and you look at in my opinion we're kind of on the cusp, and Nick, I think you're bang on me. I mean, I think we're on the cusp of these, kind of the merge, kind of the collaboration that we're seeing, and we're talking about. We're really just talking about it. And we're kind of throwing ideas out there. I think from a VC perspective, the money's probably, I think it is going into kind of the more established InsurTechs who are seeing some real traction. So Hippo obviously have been in the news recently. With their recent round of Series D has put them into the unicorn category, and rightly so. I mean, it's a company that's really applying technology, personalized in insurance in a way that I think has been missing from the industry. And So I think, I think a lot of the VC money is probably now being put into companies who have already established some of these ideas. But look, I firmly believe that, some of the great ideas are still waiting to be kind of discovered. And I think as technology continues to evolve, without getting into specifics around blockchain and so on, I think we'll start to see more of these partnerships evolve and hopefully grow over time. And for insurance as an industry, perhaps it becomes, we talk about ecosystems and we talk about platforms. I think it could become this amalgamation of multiple things that delivers a service or a experience for the end customer.
Kind of the intelligent application of the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's always been my, my vision for insurance is 10 years from now, for instance. I kind of view it as insurance, the way we think of it right now, probably won't exist, or will exist in a much more minimal fashion. I just see it as you buy insurance and you get some sort of product or service that comes with it. I think risk management is a natural fit for that, or the opposite. You buy, like Tesla is doing, you buy the car and the insurance comes with it. So you extract the user from having to deal with that. But it really does come down to, I think, from an experience point of view, no one really wants to become intimate with their insurance. So it's got to be one or the other. If you do become intimate, you're getting all of these other bells and whistles that make the experience much better. Or you get a car, and you don't even have to think about the insurance, and the car is the experience.
Yeah.
If we take our earlier model one step further, all the self-driving cars come in because they cut off traffic, but they let the robot cars come in to pick up the people and take them out. I guess Tesla doesn't do a rental car. So if you have an issue with your Tesla, they give you a Uber for X amount of days, or they give you like an Uber account that you use. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. So yeah, it's one of those things where, the industry is changing, it's evolving. I spend a lot of time in the InsurTech space, as you guys do. And it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I think the tough nut to crack is still, I think the tough nut to crack is that there's still a need for, and I was speaking to Patrick Callahan about this earlier. We were talking about the emotional side of insurance, which is difficult to automate. It's difficult to really kind of find a solution that, as you move into the more complex areas of insurance, particularly P&C, automating that and finding a way to deliver the same peace of mind through a chatbot is kind of a psychological barrier.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get your perspective, Nick and Brett, but I think that the role of the person in this mix is still going to be critical, but the type of role that they play, I think, is going to change quite dramatically. And maybe they kind of fill roles which are more aligned around the emotional side of things, and with claims, and it could be claims, but I think as we're moving to more risk prevention, it could be around advice, it could be around mentorship. But I'm not sure what your 2 cents are on that, guys.
Is it in the UK? Is it not true that the majority of auto insurance is purchased online, or isn't that like a European thing?
Disintermediated.
Right?
They don't have agents and brokers like we do.
So let me throw it back to you, Chris. Like, what's the difference? What's going on there where it has become more of a digital medium, digital distribution system, versus here where I agree with you. I think there is a disconnect. I don't know if it's an American thing or if it's a insurance legacy. The ecosystem here is different than the ecosystem there. How do you compare and contrast? Because that answer might have a lot to do with what's blocking the experience thing from kind of resolving itself over here in the States.
You know, it's a great question. You know, I think from the UK perspective, you have kind of the D2C channels, which are, as you said, Nick, I think are a bit more established. You know, and you know, on the claim side, you know, it's still very much a hand-holding, personal experience, right? I mean, it's, you know, you're still looking at you know, a level of you know, human touch and engagement, which I think is perhaps missing from the rest of the experience. And you know, I think in the US we'll start to move much more towards that type of model. You know, when you look at you know, other platforms like Cover Wallet and Broker, you know, guys in the P&C space who are using data intelligently, looking at personalized kind of experiences to perhaps replace or supplement that you know, traditional channel for advice. But you know, it's still, I don't think I still think we're a little ways away from the point where the whole end-to-end experience is automated. Lemonade obviously are in that type of space with their particular products, but it's, you know, again, I think it's a question of complexity. You know, the more complex the product is, the more need there is for that kind of type of human engagement. And I think we're seeing it with you know, cyber as well. You know, cyber insurance again is one of those areas that's going to be, you know, growing, you know, incredibly rapidly. But you know, to automate that type of thing is going to be quite challenging.
Yeah. I got a weird wrinkle where it may be working over there and not here yet. Is it might be more of a city thing where you're used to quicker, more deliberate interactions. And I've only spent a lot of time in London, but it feels a little bit more progressive. When I still feel like, even though cities are getting larger in the US, it's still a little bit more of a neighborhood feel. And also we might, I don't know if we're more litigious in the US, maybe we want somebody to hold accountable too. Maybe we want to work with somebody so that we could sue them, you know, be like, you recommended this, you know, hold people accountable. But yeah, I'm sure there's a few factors at play.
Well, I mean, it could be, you know, you have 50 regulatory environments.
Oh yeah.
Here in the States. And so for a company to go digital and put their entire rating mechanism on something digital is not a trivial task.
Right.
That's a huge calculator. Whereas, you know, single country like in the UK, I don't know if the UK has different regulatory jurisdictions, but here, you know, you go, you know, New England has 6 states. You go from one state to the other in a few-minute drive. You have a different insurance environment, different rates, everything's different. And the same insurance company needs to have different filed forms and different filed rates for all of those, and they have to cram that in a digital experience in the background so that it can quote quick. That's not easy to do.
I may be quietly in about 6-7 states now for some project that I'm working on or a part of. It's a feat, even just applying these different licenses, staying organized, making sure it go through, answering questions, literally just for a basic producer license. But Chris, if I'm right, you could sell, I was talking to Rahul about LACA and them being able to sell throughout Europe. By the way, Rahul is awesome. That was a really fun conversation. That guy came out of nowhere, just crushing content.
He's awesome. He's awesome, and he has a global eye on things, which is very cool.
I feel like I was one of the newer guys, and I hear him like coming up and shooting past me if it's some sort of long distance race. So where did this guy come from?
Super smart.
About how it's crazy with what goes down in Europe that they may lose most of their market. Like currently, they could sell throughout Europe through the agreements and insurance, Nick, just by being licensed in the UK, but they could lose that kind of reach pretty quick here. So it's kind of interesting. But,
I mean, it's I think it's all up in the air. I think it's all up in the air over there at the moment.
So this doesn't have to be just an insurance conversation. Any thoughts on the Brexit mess? Since you're disconnected now and you don't have the direct emotional attachment.
We've only got 3 minutes. I mean, how long? I need longer than that.
We'll get 5. We'll get 5. We started late. We'll go 6.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. And I think whatever your perspective on Brexit, I think very, very soon
she's laughing about it.
we need to find a solution, because I think the uncertainty is causing more harm than perhaps any of the outcomes.
For everybody.
For everybody,
Yeah.
and Boris has come in and kind of come out guns blazing to try and find a solution, and it's not, so far it isn't working, and we'll see what happens.
Wild.
Yeah, it is wild. It's completely wild.
I wonder if it gets messier there, given London's position in the insurance market, if there'd be any spillover. I don't know.
Like
Possibly.
Their kind of international contracts or whatever else.
I mean, my understanding is that hopefully all of the companies have contingency plans in place. So regardless of the eventual outcome, it shouldn't have much of an impact. But I think the longer that things drag on and the more uncertainty there is, again, I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we're going to see. And look, we aren't used to so many legal moves in government, right? And now you're seeing kind of this back and forth between parties, and legal threat after legal threat. So regardless of any decision that's made, the chances are that some type of petition or legal bid will be made to reverse it. So I don't know what that end looks like. We'll see, but I'm sure it's going to be a Netflix drama at some point. Watch this space. But yeah, it's chaos, guys. It's chaos.
Should we cut it here, or
final thoughts, closing thoughts on Brexit, insurance, IoT, conferences, and maybe ask Kodiak? I don't know. We're in this.
Ask Kodiak, Spurs. How are
Kodiak and Spurs.
I don't know. I don't follow soccer very much, but are the Spurs actually playing now, and how are they doing?
They're doing okay. Again, it's a typical Spurs season. Nick, I can give you the very quick overview. It's kind of like win 2, lose 1. Is our trend. And it doesn't look like changing. I'm more excited about the conferences coming up, and what's happening in this space at the moment. And look, this, yeah, it's funny because I'll throw Chris Cheatham under the bus a little bit with his comment about InsurTech fairly recently. Look, I'm still very passionate about InsurTech, and I think that as a moniker, it may change from InsurTech to just insurance or tech. But for me, it has been a game changer. I think in the insurance industry, and I think it will continue to drive innovation and kind of push people to think deeply about customer experience and customer-centric solutions.
All right, I think that's a great final thought. Let's close it there. We'll do this again.
So we'll see you in Vegas.
See you in Vegas. And
see you guys this year, but I'll see you soon somewhere.
Next year, Brett.
I'll be there, Chris.
Yeah. I love the picture on the wall, by the way, Brett.
Yeah.
It's quite intimidating, but it's quite cool as well.
He may be from Tijuana. I'll have to tell you the full story someday.
Okay, that's a future episode. All right.
Exactly, cliffhanger.
All right, guys.
Thank you, gents.
Take care. Cheers.